All right, Brian, we're doing a dynasty price check for Zamir White. This is a 12-team Superflex start 9 PPR. Zamir White versus the 204. This is post NFL draft, of course. Raiders didn't really draft anyone to replace him. Which side are you taking?
I am going to take Mr. Zamir White strictly because he is awesome. I think this trade kind of comes down to, or both of them are kind of, you kind of have to make a choice, right? Like, do you think Zamir White's going to be the dude for, almost forgot the team here, for the Raiders?
Yeah.
Or do you think he's going to be in like a huge timeshare? I think the Raiders have kind of made it semi-obvious what they're doing with their team. They weren't able to get a quarterback in this draft, and it's either going to be Minshew or O'Connell throwing the ball. I don't know how much they're going to put the team on their backs necessarily. So I think the run game is going to be pretty heavily involved. So if you think Zamir is going to be the dude, then I think he's totally worth the 204.
Yeah, it's interesting. 204 in this draft pick, just kind of looking at my rookie rankings, which doesn't mean it's going to play out that way, but that's right in the Jonathan Brooks, Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette, Trey Benson, Michael Penix range. Now, I think Jonathan Brooks is going to go before the 204 personally.
Yeah, I definitely think so too.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you're talking about potentially a first-round pick at receiver. You're talking about the second best running back, or maybe the best, but the second drafted running back. Michael Penix, who's a top 10 pick at quarterback, which is going to be interesting to see how people handle him. If it came down to Trey Benson versus Zamir White, I think I'm going to take. Oh man, that's tough now that I'm thinking about it. But I guess I'll lean Trey Benson slightly, but I can see the argument for Zamir White because, again, how we talked about running backs is approach it from the perspective of what can you give for me in 2024, the coming season, right? Besides the top guys, the Breece Halls and the Bijans and the Jahmyr Gibbs, everyone else is kind of a year-to-year basis because they can fall off so much. So I don't mind either way. I think I would lean the pick just because this draft class, you're potentially still getting a first-round pick at receiver, and I'll take that for Zamir White. But I definitely don't see I'm not going to be shocked if I see this trade go through because Zamir White's going to be good. He's going to be probably potentially a top 12 running back, sneaky just from volume. You see the volume they gave him last year. Alexander Madison, I'm not too worried about. They drafted a guy in Dylan Lobby, but it was a 6th-round pick. Their first 3 picks also kind of help the run game. Brock Bowers as a block, tight ends can block in the run game. They drafted a center/interior guy, and then they drafted an offensive tackle in the first 3 picks. So they just beefed up the line. So yeah, definitely interesting one. Are you worried about Madison at all?
No, not at all. I think he showed us last year that we don't have to worry about him. And I mean, honestly, when he was on the Vikings, when Dalvin Cook was still there, whenever, Cook was out, at Madison was good. And as soon as Cook came back, obviously it's we're not saying Zamir White's anywhere near Dalvin Cook just yet anyway. But I don't know. I think we've seen enough of Madison to not really have to worry about him. Is he going to get some work? Of course, but yeah, like you sort of alluded to, well, maybe you just flat out said it. Look at the work that Zamir White got in the last 4 games of last season, 21 touches was the lowest. Well, I always forget, do targets count as touches? But either way, 20 plus, carries and catches, and that was the low end of it. So yeah, no, I think he's got a good season ahead of him for sure.
And there's an argument for he's out of all these, guys we talked about, let's say Benson, Penix, Legette, like he probably has the best chance for his value to increase, and you can sell him off sooner. Whereas, um, these other guys, especially Penix, probably Trey Benson sitting behind Connor, at least to start the year, until Connor gets hurt. These guys are probably going to either stay or drop in value, whereas Zamir White could just continue to go up. Can sell them off in the middle of October for even more. So there's always that side of it too. Another trade here, which I thought was interesting, a 14-team Superflex start 10. So 14 teams makes it, compare the other one, 9 times 12, we're talking, 108 starters. Here we're talking about 140. Half PPR, 1 point tight end premium. You want Zamir White and the 313 or Tony Pollard?
Yeah, this one is interesting. For some reason, I thought I saw the pick on the other side when I first read it. And I was like, I'm definitely taking Pollard and Zamir White. The 313, it is a deep league, but maybe all the more reason, who is that going to be? So that doesn't really change anything for me. So I think it's really Zamir versus Pollard. And, definitely we've seen it from Pollard for a longer period of time, I guess, depending on how you think about his last season. He was playing hurt, recovering from that. It was a broken leg, broken shin, something like that, from the previous year. And I definitely would lean Pollard here over Zamir, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if they both finish back to back as far as what they do this coming season. But I'll lean Pollard.
Yeah, so I think you kind of answered it for me when you said I wouldn't be surprised if one finishes over the other. And for that, I think I'll just take Zamir in the pick. I know 313, we're talking pretty far into the draft, but you are starting, if you start a 12-team start 10, you're starting 20 more guys in this league than a standard 12-team league, So this is deep. So, a lot of guys that wouldn't be starting in a 12-team start 10 are starting in a 14-team start 10. So there's that to think about, So there's a slight chance that a late third is going to hit, of course, in any situation. So yeah, I'll just take Zamir. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be better. I think has a little bit more, clear cut situation. I think it's Zamir 65% of the time for the Raiders, whereas Pollard with Tajay Spears there could be 50-50. That's not crazy to think. It could just, they kind of view them as, now they're paying him like a number one guy. But yeah, could be 50-50. He's 27 years old. Things to consider. What if Zamir White's just really good, which you always have that chance, and say, oh, he's actually going to be the Raiders running back for 2 years or 3 years. Just turned 27, Pollard, not that long ago. But again, I think I'll lean. I wouldn't be surprised either one in 2024. One finishes over the other. So I think I'll just take the 313. And I think people have a little bit of a sour taste when it comes to Pollard as well.
Yeah.
But overall, go ahead.
I was going to say, I totally get that too. He could be, I think he's going to catch some passes from Levis, obviously they got more guys there. I don't remember who they drafted. You'll know that. And then they got Ridley too, right? So there's definitely going to be some competition there, but I think that's only going to help open things up a little bit between Ridley, Hopkins, and the rookie and Pollard. I definitely think the Titans will be better than they were last year, and I can't say the same about the Raiders.
Yeah, Titans didn't draft really anything that would affect. They drafted a wide receiver in the 6th round. That was the only, besides the offensive tackle, that was the only offensive player they went. So, that's a good point with the catching stuff because, we saw Zamir White kind of get the standard, this running back plays 90% of the snaps or 70% of the snaps. You're going to catch 2-3 balls every game if you do that, right? So, but nothing spectacular. I know you had a 3-catch and a 5-catch game, but he also had a 0-catch game and a 1-catch game, right? So it's kind of balance that out, you're probably expecting 2.5. Whereas Pollard, even though Spears is there, could be. Well, what did he have last year? He had over 50, right? Or did he not have that much? I know one of these here, 50, 55. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if Zamir White can get to that level. So, but yeah, the more clear situation makes me lean Zamir in the pick here. So, surprisingly, though, if you go look at a trade database and look at Zamir White, you can kind of get him still pretty relatively cheap. You know, like I'm just looking through these trades and I see like a couple late seconds or, you know, a late second and a late third. And I don't know, people are maybe a little bit hesitant to just kind of crown him. But, you know, there's really no one else out there that they could sign that would really make me totally get off of Zamir White, you know? So any last words there?
No, I was trying to figure out what rookie I was thinking of. I must be thinking of a different team and thinking about Treylon Burks, I guess. I don't know. like Jaquan Jackson in the 6th round. Like, no, it's not who I was thinking of, but I don't know. I always get them mixed up with Indy, so I don't know why.
Same division.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely not it because I don't know divisions.
Yeah, they're close-ish geographically.
Yeah, I know, right? Kind of similar colors, kind of like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it though. But yeah, we'll finish up there, and we'll be back with another player, Bryce Young, which I thought we talked about, but I guess we didn't. So we'll be back talking about some Bryce Young trades.